Hi everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Everything Design Show. I'm Nicholas. We've been on a little bit of a hiatus, but I'm glad to be back today. And with me today, I have actually Jorge Huertas. He's a friend that I've met in my education back in Australia, and now he's a professor at in Colombia. As well as he's also running a YouTube channel called Design 24/7, which releases videos for about design thinking and design innovation in both Spanish as well as English. Hi Jorge, how are you?
Hi, Nicholas. How are you? I'm good. I'm really happy to be here today.
Yeah. So you've been the founder of Design Thinking 24/7. You're also a full professor in communications and language, and you're also a consultant within in Colombia as well. So maybe why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself and what you do in your day-to-day work?
Okay, so my bachelor is actually in industrial design, but I really believe that I'm not a really industrial design. I believe that I'm a designer. I really like visual part. I'm really going for graphic design, and basically I had the opportunity to go to study to Melbourne. That's where we met. That experience literally changed my mind and my vision of my career. So after I finished my master, I came back to Colombia and I started teaching. I had the opportunity to do that. And at the beginning, I saw a big opportunity to bring design thinking to Colombia, especially to Bogota, where I come from. And I have a big opportunity because I believe that I was one of the few person that knew what that was. And in the faculty, they gave me the opportunity to bring my knowledge and start teaching. I didn't have much experience as a teacher, but they liked my CV. So with that, I start interacting with different kind of students and have the opportunity to bring in all the different tools and components of design thinking. After that, I start like gaining more experience, and some institutions, different kinds of institutions, just try to recruit me. So I start changing to different universities. And then I have the opportunity to start becoming a consultant. And nowadays I'm working as a consultant for ProColombia. ProColombia is a institution of the Colombian government who is focused on all the exportations of different products. So the most important thing is that I really love what I do. I'm really happy, and I believe that I'm a privileged person that can work in what they really like. And I believe that that is a big privilege because not everyone has that possibility. So yeah, it has been a long journey, but I really enjoying it. I believe that privilege is not have $100,000 in your bank account. I believe that privilege is do something that you like and enjoy. And I love teaching. I really enjoy design thinking, something that I'm really passionate. And I have the opportunity to have been growing a lot of different things. During when I was teaching, I noticed some of my students told me like, oh, this design thinking is really interesting, but one semester is really a small time to learn all the different resources and all the different components. And said like, yeah, you know what? You're right. So I start looking at different ways so I could share what I know, because I believe that it's worthless if you are a master, it's worthless if you are a PhD, if you cannot share what you know. Knowledge is only valuable if you can share those kind of things. So because I always been driven by graphic design, I have the opportunity to create the videos the ways that I would like to learn. So there are infographics, and those infographics are show step by step of different things. They could be really short videos, 4 minutes, or something that is more complex, maybe 20 something. But something that I really enjoy is that sharing what I know. And especially coming from a country like mine, my country, Colombia, has been having a lot of different issues during history. But I believe that education is the only way to get a better work, to get a better job, to get a better life. Education is the only way for me. So I share what I know, and I really enjoy it.
That's great. That's great. I mean, thanks for that. I mean, it's great that you're sharing your knowledge and your strong beliefs about education for everybody. And it's quite clearly that you do that. You know, you have 24.7, I mean, almost 24,000 subscribers on your Design Thinking 24/7 YouTube channel. You know, I will put the links definitely in the description of the podcast and the video as well. And you're doing that in an sort of informal setting with your videos, but at the same time still doing it through the formal education within the universities that you're teaching. I also, so I mean, my first question, I guess, for you was, you know, the fact that you were able to go overseas to Australia. That's where we met. You know, we met during while we were doing our masters as well. I remember our first class that we had together. We had such a international group of people. We had Americans, we had Vietnamese, we had Australians, we had Colombians. We had people who were from Dubai, UAE. You know, we had Malaysians as well. You know, shout out to Melvin. You know, Rima. You know, all our Southeast Asian masters gang. So, you know, with that kind of eclectic mix that we had, right? I think it was a real strong sense of how international education was in Australia at that time. You know, I think it definitely still is, but you know, I think that was a very strong sense of the education there. So, what was it for you that made you go to Australia to take up your education? Right? I mean, sure, were you looking at other countries, or you know, was Australia the only, you know, I guess the main, you know, a place that you wanted to go? What was the inspiration for you to go there, and you know, the decision that drove you to go to Australia to do the masters?
Okay, when I finished my high school, I went to the US for 1 year. That's where I learned English. And to be honest with you, I didn't like the vibe over there. And I said, like, when I finish, I want to go to some place when they speak English and it's far away from home, because I want to know the world, basically. And I started looking, and I applied to Milan. I applied to a place in Canada as well. And Australia for me was something that I started looking at and said, like, this is awesome. I read everything, and I say, like, okay, I don't know nothing about Australia, but I think that this is a great opportunity. I did my papers, I did everything. The first day that I arrived to Australia and I started talking to people, I said, like, I did the best decision of my life. And all the opportunities that I have, basically I was the only Colombian over there. And I have so many opportunities to know so many people from so many different backgrounds. I have the opportunity to went to Malaysia, to went to different places in Southeast Thailand, and met so many different people and amazing people, way different than me. I enjoyed that so much. It was an amazing experience. But the main thing, it was that when I saw the curriculum of the master, I said, like, this is what I want. Because a couple of months before I took the decision, I started noticing what design thinking was, and I know the focus of the master, and said, like, this is what I want to go. And yeah, the experience was amazing. And after that, you know, when you live overseas for a couple of years and you met so many different people, you were never the same. Like, you change so much and you appreciate everything. And of course, you bring your cultural background, but you learn so much from so many different people. So that was basically it.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree that you learn quite a lot. I mean, even for myself, you know, being overseas in Australia for about 8 years, you learn how to sort of be an adult, you know, in your early 20s. You also learn to interact with people. You know, I think our class was so you know, such a good mix of people. We learn different cultures. You know, I think I had to pick up a little bit of you know, a bit of Spanish, and you know, learn about the subtle differences between the Spanish and the Portuguese language as well. Because I think we met a few Brazilians as well. You know, so that was really, really, really very cool. And I think, you know, it was a sight to see. You know, I have quite a few photos where in one photo, I think we had maybe 15 or 20 international, people just sitting at a park and, having a barbecue and having drinks, and we were all talking about, I think design was what sort of brought us together, but the thing that sort of stuck for us that really brought us much closer and stronger together was that we were very happy to learn about each other's culture. We were very happy to learn about each other's background. And I think the subtle difference, like, East Asians, like Melvin, who was a Malaysian friend of ours, looks, most people would assume, Singapore and, Malaysia is, the same. But there are, these subtle differences that we learn from each other and we sort of teach each other about, which was really a great experience. So Australia was great. We spent good years. We had a lot of drinks. We had a lot of food. We had a lot of avocado and guacamole and a lot of, everybody was, sharing all of their dishes, which was great. But, how did that, going back to Colombia, and, being a professor, how did that experience sort of help you, become an educator, or how did that experience help to, how did it change you as a person, and as an educator, and how did it impact the way that you teach, when you went back to Colombia?
Yeah, well, that's actually something very special for me, because when I start in a very small university. It was very small, and actually it was focused for people who doesn't have too many economical resources. So my view changed a lot, because even though we were in Bogota, I have no idea the situations and the things that people have to live and the effort that people have to make to pay their tuition fee each semester, and all the things that they have to do, because I've been quite privileged, and I didn't know what it was. So for me, even though that it was in my same city, it really opened me again, and I start analyzing, wow, I can't believe that this is happening in my city and I have no idea of that. So for me, I start asking me so many questions about what I was giving to the city, what I was giving to my country. And I say, like, I think that I'm not giving too much, really. I'm not making too much effort, because, to be honest with you, my life has been quite easy until that moment. So that really made me think and analyzing that I could share what I know. That's the most valuable thing that I can have. So I start really pushing myself to give the best classes that I could, to making understand people why education is so important, why that is, I believe, the only way to make a fair education situation. And after that, I noticed that I want to reach more people, not only my students in my class, and I want them to teach the things that I know that maybe they could help and they could work with something. When I started the YouTube channel, it was because, like I was telling you, I noticed like the semester was not enough to teach everything that I know. And then I realized and analyzed that I could make an effort and start creating videos at least once a week. I thought that only my students will watch it. And then I noticed that people were really interested in the things that I was saying. And that was a big surprise, because I didn't do it for the money or for the recognition. I just did it because I thought that was the only thing that after I die is the only thing that it will remain. Oh yeah, this dude used to know that, and he was always teaching that, and he was really passionate. Uh, but for me, after I did the first couple of videos, I noticed that people like what I was doing, and like say, like, you know what, I'm gonna keep doing this, and I'm gonna try to do it better. And I believe that if people start following what I'm saying, they could be really successful with their projects or with this business, and that has happened. And for me, that is priceless. When people write you and say, like, you know what, that video helped me a lot, or my students telling me, you know, that project that we did in class, that is my lifeline now. Oh man, that is priceless. Like, I believe that people that we are focusing on teaching, that is better than anything that we could get. When we notice that what we are doing is meaningful.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, your YouTube channel now has, I mean, you have a few hundred videos, right? And you've got a million, I think 1.3 million views, 24, you almost reaching your 24/7, thousand subscribers, which is great. And yeah, I remember when I first saw your YouTube videos, I was like, oh, this is great content, and then I saw that it started blowing up. I was like, wow, you've got, you're growing in number of subscribers. You're also creating English, English as well as, both English and Spanish videos as well. And the more I watched and the more I looked at your content, it's just very straightforward, very clear cut. It's here's the tools, here's how you use it, here's how it could benefit you, which was great because what I sensed was that you were trying to simplify some of these complex ideas or frameworks so that everybody can learn from them and use them, which is great. I think YouTube's been great. If you're listening to this podcast and you haven't seen Jorge's YouTube channel, please go and take a look at it. And it's a great resource. For anybody who wants to teach design thinking, anybody who wants to learn about design thinking. I think there's a great resource, and I think it really stems from his passion for wanting to share his knowledge to the world, and his community as well, which is great. I mean, another thing that you've also spoken about, and we talked about previously, was how you are not just sharing from an educational perspective, but you're also sharing from a consulting perspective. So, and you were telling me that you were working with the Colombian government. Can you elaborate a little bit more about that?
Sure. I believe that one of the most important things when you are a teacher is that you can balance your theoretical knowledge with the things that you are applying. So my career start getting noticing, and different companies start calling me, and one of those was the Colombian government, Pro Colombia specifically. And I have the opportunity to start working with different entrepreneurs and with different companies that are focusing on export their products from Colombia to different countries worldwide. So basically what I do is showing the different resources that innovation has. User-centered design, I believe that is the most important thing that not only students, but any person who want to sell something has to be thinking, okay, why people will watch my content, why this is meaningful to someone. Not just because this is an ego boost, it's because they could apply it in something that they like. And I noticed that has been something I've learned a lot. I learned from my students, I learned from my different consulting things, and that's something that has made me more critical even with my work, to say like, okay, and I'm giving the whole package, or I could give something more. And for me, I see the opportunity to always improve. Something could be good, but could be even better. Like, okay, I'm happy with that, but I know that I can make it better, and I know that I could inspire people. You know that the kind of topics that we are talking about, they are not massive. This is not music. This is not something, I don't know, different like that. But if education get tracked to people that really believe that this could change, we can make a difference. People learn in different ways. And that's something that is extremely important. And I believe that for hearing someone to be learning a specific thing that you want to learn, you can change it. And for me, get that balance between working in the industry and be a teacher, it has helped me a lot to create something focused on real needs, on things that people could apply and they can work. So that's basically, I've been working as a consultant for the past 2 years, also as a teacher, but I really enjoy it because I noticed that there are so many opportunities, and when people get you and you see the results, you feel really happy. I know that it could sound a bit cheesy, but I'm more moved for the results and the feelings that people put there, that money. I don't do this for money. I do it because I really enjoy it. I'm so passionate. Actually, the name of the channel is Design Thinking 24/7 because I'm really thinking of this 24/7. I believe that this could really change the world, especially user-centered design for any kind of development that you do.
Yeah, that's definitely great. I mean, I think you shared a bit about how I think the change from going from an education from Australia and then going back to Colombia, being able to share both in your consulting work as well as in your education. How would you describe the design landscape? Because you were mentioning how the design landscape when you went there, not many people were learning about it. But, this was maybe 4 years ago when you came back. How do you feel that has changed over the past, 4 years since you've been back in Colombia? Do you think that the landscape of design thinking or design user-centered design innovation, has that changed over the past few years?
Yes, I think that it has been growing a lot because people has been seeing results. Things nowadays are not subjective. It's not because I think of something. It's because I'm focused on a need. And I noticed that different kind of professions, engineers, communicators, are really liking it and really tracking it and really putting it in their day-by-day job. And they are seeing the results. One of the best things about design thinking is that so easy to understand. It got a simple language. This is not to sound very intellectual or something that, oh, I'm so smart. No, it's straightforward. And any kind of person could understand this. And when they know that they are focusing on a real need, they show the results. So yes, in the last couple of years, it has been growing a lot. When I start doing this, I thought that I was a pioneer because I never hit anyone talking about this. And that was like, hey, what is he talking about? Okay, what is? And people still talking about in the 80s, in the 90s, I'm like, no. That's a long time ago. That nowadays people are not doing that. And you know what? I was telling you before we started this podcast that I believe that the biggest fear that people has is the fear of change. People and organizations are like, yeah, we love change. We love innovation. I don't know any company that has never said anything that, but when you go and work with those companies and tell you, no, what you are doing is not like this. You have to do it like this and you change it like that. People don't like it. People feel threat. And that's quite funny because you see their speech and all the different terms that they use to say, like, oh my God, this is Google. No. There's a huge difference in the speech and the actions.
Yeah, I mean, so speaking of that, you talk about how businesses are, they talk about this design, about the, yes, we want to change, we want to innovate, right? But they tend not to. So how in your experience, how has it been, trying to convince them and trying to get them to change eventually at the end of the day? What are some of your tips and tricks that you typically do?
Well, one of the things that I do is that I believe that people feel you when you have empathy and when they trust you. And you believe that bond with time and with showing step by step. I know that sometimes it could be a little bit tiring, but when people say like, okay, if you do it, this, and you will have that, people say like, okay, I'm going to give it a shot. It's going to be a small shot because I don't like change. But when they see the result, they say like, okay, I think this guy could be into something. And when they understand that I'm not trying to selling anything, the only thing that I want is that to make their life better and make easier their process and to have better results. And they start trusting me, things change. But that takes a while because you don't develop trust from one moment to another. I see a big gap between young generations and old school generations, people that are meant to, especially in Latin culture, one of the things that make you feel very manly is that even though that you don't know, you will say that you know. So like, what? You don't know what you're talking about. So like, yeah, like that could happen in your family. That could happen with a CEO of a big company. And you say like, but he has no idea what he's talking, but he doesn't want, he feel emasculated to say, I don't know. And I'm from a different generation. If I don't know, I will tell you, Nicolas, I have no idea. Please show me. And that's perfect for me. But especially for cultural background, that has been something that it is difficult. But I try to understand why they feel the way they do. And I believe that culture is something very, very powerful. People here, especially men, feel so emasculated when they say, I don't know. But when they say, like, maybe they use a euphemism. When say, like, okay, can you show me this? And so, like, yeah, of course, you can use it like this, you can use it like that. Try it and let me know if it works. And when they try that and you get the result, they say, like, yeah, call this guy. Okay, what's his name? Jorge. Okay, call him. I think that he could be into something.
That's great. I mean, I like the I really love the cultural aspect that you were talking about. Like, saying I don't know means, is sort of a sign of weakness, or can be emasculating for people. I mean, it doesn't seem. I mean, I wouldn't say it's extreme, but yeah, it's a very, very interesting insight that you've uncovered there. And yeah, I do like the trick that you have where, it's not really saying that and getting them to admit that they don't know, but it's just sort of saying, why don't you try it this way? Here's an example. It's not that you don't know, but it's more of like a refresher in that sense. Or, I think, yeah, it's very, very important because as a designer, I sometimes do feel that, it's not us trying to impose things, it's us trying to understand the language. We sometimes have to maneuver a little bit just to get them to, get them to the light bulb to sort of pop in their head, which is definitely something that takes a lot of time to do that. So you talk about a bit about the older culture as well as the younger culture, right? Do you think that that's going to continue? Like, do you foresee, that companies that may or may not pick up on these innovation methods, are they the ones that are the younger companies that are doing that a little bit more? And what do you see, I guess, in the next few years? Do you think that's gonna have a big boom, or do you think that that's gonna sort of have a slower change, or so and so forth?
I believe that it has been going a change, and that's good, because younger generations, not just in Colombia but worldwide, are more receptive, because we grow up in a different way with different components, with different ways, and I believe that that's something that is good. That change, you cannot stop this change. It will continue happening, and people will be more interesting to have better and bigger results. And the way they are going to say, like, hey, yeah, I hear something about Scrum or Lean Startup or different kind of innovation and methodologies, and like, yeah, we should give it a try with that. And if people are open-minded, if they are trying to listen in different ways, they could have really good results. I believe that that's something really interesting, that it could work in a very good way. I always have really high hopes. I believe that things will change, that things will get better. The thing is, like, we will like that the change will be really quick, and that's not the reality. Change takes time, and sometimes we will like quicker and faster results, but I believe to keep pushing and you will eventually get your result. The important thing is, like, if you believe in that, keep working, keep pushing, believe in that, keep forward, looking for some people that could have different things, that could teach you something different. That is one of my biggest lessons in Australia. I met so many awesome people that knew so many things about things that I have no idea, and I start learning, and I'm so interesting, and that are things that stick in your mind forever. So when you have that set of mind, you are not afraid of the change. You know that the only thing for sure in life is change. That is for sure. Things will always change. But when you are resistant to that, you will have a bad time. You will not enjoy yourself. So I believe that when we understand that, and we say, like, I don't feel emasculated because I don't know what it is, that's something good. That's something good. That's something that could help a lot. And yeah, if you believe in something, keep pushing, keep pushing. Don't stop. Eventually, you will get your result for sure.
Yeah, that's a good sort of reminder and a good tip for anybody who's, I guess, working within the design world, and meeting with clients, or working with different stakeholders that are outside of their organization, or even internally within their own organization. I'd like to just take it back a little bit to the education part, because we're both educators. You're educators, on YouTube. You're an educator on YouTube as well in the university, and you've had quite a big reach from the work. I mean, based on your insights from your YouTube, I wanted to just check. Apart from Colombia, where are you seeing a big number of your viewers coming from?
Actually, my biggest numbers don't come from Colombia. They come
Oh,
from Peru and Mexico.
oh, wow,
And
okay.
actually, that's quite surprising because I have never been to those countries and I really appreciate it. And if people from my channel are looking at, thank you so much. One of the things that I thought is like the growth of this project, it will be organic. I will not pay a dime for this. If people are looking this, is because they like it, they want to learn and they want to share it. And for me, that was one of my point one from the beginning. And I always believe that. I don't believe in imposing. I don't believe into pushing that, because when people are interested about something, they will find a way to get it. So for me, that's something very important. And even though that the numbers are there, that wasn't my first purpose. My objective was like, the day that I die, my channel will remain and people will keep learning with me for as long as YouTube exists.
Wow, that's a very, very good way of looking at it from a legacy perspective, and I never thought about that actually. Yeah, it's a good way of sharing your knowledge. And I mean, in the past, right, most people, in academics, they'll be like, oh, if I want to share my knowledge, I'll write a book. Everybody can buy my book. Everybody will everybody can, I'll write a journal, everybody can read my journal, right? But it seems that, I think the path that you've taken, which is a very commendable path, is to really make the information public, right? Make sure that everybody has that information as well. I think you're also talking about how, I think education shouldn't be something that is only for the rich, right? Or the people who are privileged. um, you know, how do you feel that, design education in Colombia, is changing? Do you think that, with your YouTube channel or with other channels that are, out there, do you feel that, I think learning about design, learning about innovation, is something that is going to be a little bit more, democratized in that sense, and not something that's just stuck with institutions? Where do you see that? Where do you see, I guess, if, I mean, not just in Colombia, but maybe globally, do you think that that will change? Do you think that design education is something that, isn't going to be stuck in the institutions anymore?
I really hope so. I really believe that um, education should be for everyone, not just in design, in any kind of subject. Uh, it doesn't matter if you have money or you don't. I believe that everyone should be able to have high quality education. What's going on today, especially in Latin America and countries like mine, is that the only way that you have high quality education is if you have money. If you are poor, man, your future, it doesn't look too good at all. So I believe that if I have the opportunity to have a master, if someone has the opportunity to have a PhD in Georgetown, in Notre Dame, in any kind of university, that's amazing. But I believe that you acquire a social responsibility, sharing the things you know. I believe is worthless if you have a lot of knowledge and nobody will benefit from that. I strongly believe that the only way to get a society more fair is sharing. I strongly believe that education is the only way to get those kind of situations when you can do whatever you want, what you like. That's what I was telling you. that I believe that privilege is do and work in what you like and what you enjoy. I many times hear really good friends, even family, that say like, you know what, I earn a lot of money, but I hate my job. That is not privilege. That is not privilege at all. I believe that privilege is work in something that you love, that you enjoy, and I believe that giving is better than getting. That's something that I really believe. When I'm giving what I know, I feel amazing. When people write me, feel amazing. Sometimes when people want to give me something like that, okay, I feel ashamed and everything like that. But I really believe that is better giving than getting. And for me, that's something that I believe in, and I'm really pushing. For me, a strong motivation was to democratize high quality education. Well, I can do it for myself, but I cannot do it for, I don't know, mathematics or physics or anything like that. But if someone is looking like, hey, I know a lot of this, please share it. You want to get a better work, because people is be really good criticizing. Oh, government do this, government do that. Okay, what do you do? Really do you do? The things that I can say, there are things that I cannot control, but there are things that I can control. And I can control the things that I know and the things that I share. So that is really only the things that I can do. But if someone knows something, share it. Someone will appreciate it somewhere in the world.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. I was also quite surprised. I had one or two videos on my own channel. And yeah, I was one of those. I mean, 30,000 views, which is not a lot, but I was like, quite surprised that you got most of my videos and maybe 100, 200 views, and also it's quite interesting to see. I was just sharing about particular technology tool, that people, a USB particular USB video stick, which it was just a quick sharing that I had, and I thought that'll be fun, and yeah, there were a lot of people a few people actually in America, as well as in Europe, they were watching that video, so it was quite surprising for me. I thought it was just something to share with my local friends or things like that, but I mean, this idea that you have of education, right? Let's say somebody was, watching your videos, somewhere in South America, or maybe, or in Bogota, right? Somebody in Bogota, and they've been watching your videos. They feel that they've learned the design thinking aspects, very well from all your videos, and they wanted to build a career of that, right? I guess in the context of Bogota in Colombia, how would you advise somebody that to move ahead in their career and say that, okay, I may not have the resources or monetary resources to go do a master's or a PhD, but I've learned a lot from design thinking 24/7. I've learned quite a lot from other resources online.
Mm-hmm.
How can I move forward in my career? How can I get the next opportunity? Maybe and some advice for your fellow Colombians.
Okay, look, that's something really interesting, because back in the day, you have to have the certificate or the diploma. But for example, I've been working a couple of projects with Google Colombia, and I noticed that at least 20% of their staff, they have no a degree. They have, and that is a political worldwide, in the US, in everything where they have presence, and they want to learn, and have they want people to know a specific competition, for example, programming, or for example, user experience. And I believe that you have to focus in a non-traditional companies. If you want to go to the gas company or oil company, probably they are not gonna look serious at you. But you go in for tech companies that they have a big open mind. You could have a fair opportunity over there, because they are not looking for, okay, we want the diploma, or this university, we got the diploma, no, they are not looking for that. They just want to know, and they will make you a test of the specific component that you want. So for me, that's this something that I have been struggling, because even though that I'm promoting disruptive thinking, I come from a background of traditional studies, and I have been like struggling with all of that. I try to, it's something that I'm not figuring it out yet, But I believe that the way that we learn, it will be way different that these generations are going to learn. They will think twice before taking a 5-year bachelor or a 4-year master degree or something like that, especially for the cost and time, and noticing like the different tools are not different. And yeah, I believe that if you are not certified in something, you have a fair opportunity, especially with new companies that could give you a fair shot. But this is not just for Colombia, this is worldwide. The way that we learn is way different. And something like, for example, when nowadays I'm in one of the best universities in Colombia. It has been a long journey to get here. But one of the discussions that I have with other professors is about that, because people say like, no, the things are not going to change. Not going to change. Oh man, you have not seen all the changes that we have in the last 2 years in the whole world. And people are thinking twice before taking a big debt or taking time and all of that. So I believe that you really have to see what this is going and be part of the change. Not be the person who are always resisting the change because they're like, no, things are not going to change. When people say things are not going to change,
Yeah, I think embracing change is something that's inevitable, definitely. I mean, looking at the way we've been educated, I think our day-to-day activities that we're seeing as well. COVID is a one example of, how the world has changed, and it can change just quickly in a snap of a finger, right? So yeah, definitely I think we will have to but yeah, I do agree that, embracing change and I think not just from an individual level, but also from an institutional level as well, right? I think Singapore as a country that I grew up in and I am currently in now, we have always been pushing for education. So no matter what stage you're at, we have quite a lot of even if you don't do well at the early stages in high school, right, or or in secondary school, they call it here. We have sort of safety nets, in our different institutions where you say, okay, it's okay, you didn't do well here, but you go to a different institution, you can take 1 or 2 years more to build yourself to get to the degree eventually. And if you come from a lower income family, the government will provide scholarships, sponsorships, which is a good way. And I think a lot of people talk about how Singapore is a fairly advanced country. The education is a very very has been a very good foundation for that. Not to sound very propaganda and pro government in Singapore, but I think just as a person who's sort of seen how the education has been, but we are also struggling. I think Singapore is also struggling in terms of trying to understand where design education fits in. I think for my university, currently we are looking to teach design thinking across the university. So we actually don't have any design courses, which I think is similar for your university as well. I mean, it's similar to what you're teaching now. Like you're not teaching design students. You're teaching design skills to non-designers as well, right? So I think we're also seeing that, and it's also very interesting. Like there are a lot of design jobs that I see in the market now, and they're actually not taken by designers. They're taken by people who come from business backgrounds, some engineers, social science backgrounds, fully anthropologists or psychologists, people come from banking or so and so forth. So it's quite interesting to also see that, I think, and maybe that's the case for design. I mean, do you think that design is something that's not just a technical skill, but or are we seeing a separation of that, where we see when we talk about design has the traditional ideas of technical skills, and design is also another big wave that's coming, where everybody is a designer technically in a certain way. Everybody is a designer and everybody can learn the ways of a design thinker. Do you see that being a very big split eventually, in both in globally as well as in Colombia?
yeah, no, I believe that people has really seen the results. And when people see results and see money, they say like, okay, this is working. And that's what people really understand and believe. And I noticed that this kind of subject will be growing, and people from different backgrounds will be more into. One of the most important things, like design thinking, is interdisciplinary, and it doesn't matter your bachelor, it doesn't matter your previous education. Everyone is welcome. And actually, I feel quite sad when I don't see any designers doing design thinking or any agile innovation or any user design focus, because they are doing technical stuff. They are on Illustrator, making a logo or anything like that. Like, no, 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 no. People finally got that design has to be from the beginning of the process. But let's say like design is way too important to give it to a designer. So we're gonna find an engineer, or we're gonna find a communication. And actually the things like we have to stand up and show that we are able to do our job and start really thinking. Because people say like, okay, this is okay, you can do technical stuff, you can do a logo, you can do a infographic or anything like that. But really understand a need, really have empathy for the situation of the person. One of the things that I really think most of the time is to have empathy with the situation of the people. And when I see someone struggling and someone that cannot get food or something like that, I suffer. And I believe that that has been coming from a long background of understanding empathy. I know that is not happening to me, but I feel bad for that person that cannot have their basic needs. So when we understand that and we have really a strong empathy and focusing in something meaningful, because that's something that I also ask. When you work design thinking, you cannot make shallow developments. You cannot make a new shirt. You cannot make new shoes. That's shallow. We have global warming, and that is for fast fashion, and that is for all the different stuff that we should never come out. When you are working design thinking, you are working in a better world. All those people that cannot eat, those people that don't have a job, those people that don't have a roof, we're gonna focus in that. We're not gonna make something to have an ego boost or anything like that. We're gonna focus in things that matter. So for me, something that's very important, and to all my students and through all my videos, I always say like this: if you are working design thinking, you cannot make shallow developments. That is against our philosophy. We have to work to make a better world. And like people say, like it takes time to understand that, but when you feel happy with the things that you are doing day by day, when you enjoy your job, that's amazing. For example, I love to talk to my students every day. They keep me young. They teach me about new things, new trends. And so like, wow, that's amazing. And I notice that new generations are more empathic than before. I notice that new generations really want to have a better world. They really care. Back in my day when I was younger, I didn't care. I was selfish. I only care about myself. And that's the reality, because I have a way of learning way different. But one of the most important things is that critical thinking allow you to really ask yourself, what have you been doing, what you have been done? And let's say, look, okay, I could make a couple of mistakes. That's part of life. We are not perfect. But also allow me to say, like, I want to do something better, something meaningful, something that matters to someone. And when you understand that and you are not thinking just for yourself, you start thinking in society and how to share.
Yeah. Hi. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah. I think. Speaking. I mean, just listening to what you're saying. I mean, you definitely have a very strong, perspective on, really the role of design. I think from what you've been sharing, it's about design not just for profit. It's not just about money, but design is about solving problems. And I think, that's a very a very commendable perspective and view on the world. I think not tough. I think a lot of people, especially if you come from a less privileged background, I need to feed myself, I need to feed my family, how do I worry about the rest of the world, right? But I think, yeah, design has that ability, and it teaches you about those lessons as well. And yeah, definitely it's something that needs to be pushed, because for example, like you're talking about, some of these fast fashion, Shein as a company, if you've heard of them as SHEIN, right? They've been a huge company. They've grown in the past 2 or 3 years. Marketing is crazy. But their products, they release new products every single thousands of products each week, and they don't go by seasons, right? They go by weeks. They release multiple products. People buy them because it's cheap, but the quality is low, and it's just feeding on, it's just feeding a sort of a very, 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 very bad fire, right? Which is to say, let's just keep creating more unsustainable fashion, unsustainable products. It's so cheap that you're just gonna throw it away, right? It doesn't really matter. So, and they just gonna keep earning money from it. And I thought it was a sort of a only in Asia that this Shein was big, but I saw Americans were also buying from that platform. People in Europe were also buying from that platform. Australia's as well was also buying from the platform. So it's grown tremendously, and it's really been pushing this whole fast fast moving goods. These very these cheap fashion items that are there. So yeah, I mean, to be able to have that mindset that I'm going to be looking at it from just a benefit for the world, right? To really solve problems and not just be about money. I think that's a great, very, very great push. Things like homelessness, things like poverty, things like things like you talked about as well, with sustainability, global warming, these kinds of things are very big things that we need to really try and tackle. And yeah, I think it's great that you're working with the local government. It's great that you're also trying to sort of look at it from exporting your businesses out as well. So that those are very, very good initiatives. I just wanted to I think we spoke about quite a few things. I think we also spoke about education as in general. We talked about how this is sort of there's change in the future. I guess I wanted to sort of ask you, a little bit for my own agenda, which is to say, as design do you think, do you think that in 5 years time, design education will be something that is do you think we'll reach do you see it in the near future or far future that your goal where design education is sort of democratized for everybody to learn? Do you think that's going to come soon, or do you think that that's still a little bit far from where you're at now?
Well, I think that we're closer like we were 5 years back. We are in the process. I believe that that's something that will be pushing forward. I am really happy to see that every kind of company now are really interested in this. I really enjoy the fact that people are interested in learning different kind of tools, different kind of resources. One of the things that I really enjoy about this is that you never finish the process. I mean, I've been learning for the last 10 years, and every week I learn something new, a new resource that I have no idea exists. And that's something that keep you the feet on the ground. Because back in the day, people say like, oh, I'm a guru in this topic, or I'm the expert in this. No, like this process make you humble. Like, yes, I know a couple of things, but every week I learn something different from different sources. I believe that the possibility will be going and growing, and I'm happy for that, because I believe that designers will have more opportunities worldwide. Nomads are something really interesting that has been growing, and I hope that someday I could travel again the world and sharing what I know in different kind of societies. I believe that passion is the most important thing When you like something, when you enjoy it, you can feel it. And when people say like, wow, this guy really enjoy what he's doing, and I really enjoy it because I see the results, and I know that design is not for make shallow things. I was telling you at the beginning of the podcast that my bachelor is in industrial design, and when I was in industrial design, it kind of frustrated me that people, the projects that they were doing, like, we're gonna make a new cup of wine, we're gonna make a new chair that it costs $10,000. For who? Where are you living, man? We're in Bogota, Colombia. For which kind of person are you designing? And that kind of things really frustrate me. And I notice, and I say, like, I want to be focused in something meaningful. I don't want to make a jacket for the 1% of the population that can pay this. That is illogical. I cannot see that. And for me, ask those kind of questions and make the combination between design thinking, critical thinking, visual thinking, a lot of different resources really make me question. And I feel really fortunate that I have the opportunity to learn from different backgrounds and different people, but also make me stronger believe that we have the opportunity to make something better from anywhere in the world. You could be in Timbuktu, you could be in Singapore, you could be in Melbourne, you could be in Madrid, you could be anywhere in the world, but you can make the change. You really can, and you start for yourself. One of the most important things, like, people are amazing for criticizing. Say like, oh, government this, politics this, and okay, awesome. What are you doing besides criticizing? Where are you giving something to the world? Because that happened worldwide, everywhere in the world. And when you're talking with friends, people say like, oh yeah, corruption this and corruption that. Oh yeah, global warming this. Oh, yeah, what are you doing? Please tell me, share with me, what are you doing? And when you start thinking on really what you are doing as a person, your changes of mind change. You notice what you did before, and now it's like, say like, okay, that's part of the process of growing, of evolving. I believe that every single person in the world evolved. I'm not the same person like 10 years ago or 20 years ago. People keep evolving, and when they notice something, see that change and say like, I can make the difference. And I really believe that anyone can make the difference. People say like, that's cliche. No, I really believe it. And that's why when a student come to me and say, teacher, I think that I could do this. Yes, go for it. Because that's the other thing. People say like, I have an amazing idea. Okay, I believe that everyone in the world has amazing ideas, but there's a huge difference in having ideas and execute it. That's the whole world. Many times I like, oh, you know what? I'm amazing in ideating. Okay, good. How many of those amazing ideas have you done? Oh, no. That's other thing. No, it's not other thing. If you think it, you have to execute it. I could have only one and execute it, and that will be my lifeline. But that's something very important, because sometimes we are contradictors of ourselves. We say something, but we do something different. So the idea is like just to keep thinking in that kind of situation and analyzing how we can make it better, and believe and enjoy it. And I believe that design education has a huge potential, has everything. People has to really believe in something. I think I can notice, and I'm going to push it, and I'm going to do whatever it takes. Because, that's the other thing. People say like, I'm out of my comfort zone. I don't like that. Of course you don't like it, because outside of the comfort zone is the learning. You want to learn, you have to get out of that comfort zone. You have to go and push it and talk to people that perhaps you don't like and smell weird and they have weird behaviors. Okay, but that's part of the process. I want to learn, but the majority of the times, especially when you have opportunities, you don't want to get uncomfortable. Conference, get that name, because of course it's easy, it's amazing, I'm learning. Okay, I don't care about anything. But when you get out of that and you see the huge amount of possibilities that you have, and you really believe in yourself, in the things that you are doing, you start inspiring people and you create community. And that's something that I really believe that make the change. We need people to inspire and people to say, like, I can do it. If that guy can do it, I can do it. And I really believe that. The only thing is discipline, and that those ideas that you have, make it happen.
Yeah, definitely. I think I really like the point that you made about how, it's not just about democratizing the the education or all these things. Actually, there is a big point that you made, which is also about my sorry, my words not coming out. But democratizing the responsibility as well, because we don't just say, oh, it's the government's mistakes, the government's role to do some of these things. But even some small things like we talk about, like I think in Singapore, there's talk about people being rude, right? People being mistreating others, right? But the behaviors, typically it's a societal thing. We have to start from ourselves to say that, oh, it's not just government has to do these rules and do that, but it's our role to educate other people, to educate ourselves, to educate our children, to tell them that these are things that are wrong, and to even remind ourselves, because we sometimes we contradict ourselves. We say that I stand for these values, but I'll miss, we litter sometimes, or we throw things, or we so actually I think, yeah, I do like the idea that the responsibility shouldn't, if we want to sort of see a more open society, a more global society, I think the responsibility to do some of these things, it's not always going to be like, oh, organized, institutional or national or global changes that are impacting these different changes that we're seeing. It's a lot of times, just us as individuals having to take that responsibility. So yeah, I do resonate with that. And I think that's a very good point to sort of end off with. I think thank you very much for joining us, Jorge, today. I guess, Jorge, for any closing notes that you have, I mean, you really actually did a very good summary of, I think, what we should be doing in design education, as well as the world. But did you have anything else that you wanted to just end off with?
Yeah, just to finish, to say that critical thinking has to go side by side with proportional action. It's worthless is, I mean, say like, okay, these are all the defects or the problems. Any people with basic knowledge, with basic observation, can say what is wrong. But it takes a real person to say, like, this is what we have to do and we are going to do it. So critical thinking goes side by side with actions. If you don't do actions of that critical thinking, is worthless. Nico, thank you so much for inviting me. I have so much good time. I really enjoy everything. I'm so happy to see you again. I hope that people is watching us right now really enjoy this conversation. I hope that we can catch up again. And yeah, for me, it has been a pleasure. And I don't know, anytime that you want to come to Colombia and enjoy Bogota, I have so many Aussie friends that have come here and they have an amazing time. Come with your family. It will be amazing.
Yeah, so I'll definitely take up on the invitation once the borders are open. Bring my family down, bring my family across the ocean to come and visit you. And I think if any listeners are also interested to sort of connect with Jorge, I'll have his LinkedIn, his YouTube channel, all in the description. And as welcoming as a person Jorge is, I'm sure he will welcome you to Colombia, to Bogota, and he'll bring you around with open arms. I remember showing his brother Andreas when he came over to Singapore as well, and I think we're a very welcoming bunch of people. So if anybody wants to come down to Colombia and visit Jorge, take some of his classes, it's free anyway through his YouTube channels, so that's great. Thank you very much, Jorge. Thank you very much for your time, and definitely we'll see you very soon. Okay, thank you very much. Bye bye.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks for everything.